So, V, you think this kid can kill Urizen?
One can only hope. But for now, we have a more pressing engagement.
Oh. Well, there we fucking go. Okay, now I just wait for the broadcast. Ha! Okay, so fun fact, I was talking that entire time and couldn't hear myself because my damn settings were set to not include my mic in the broadcast, which is really weird and kind of goes against the way we do things around here. So to just catch people up to speed, now that we're 10 minutes in, oh god. First of all, I was going to do this by playing through Bloody Palace, but for some reason I do not have Bloody Palace unlocked, even though I've beaten the game. So that's nice. Secondly, it has been a long time since I've played, and immediately going into playing as V is going to be very, very rough. So, apologies in advance. Also, I'm doing this as a live stream instead of a video for two reasons. Firstly, this is going to be really, really off the cuff for me. It is pure train of thought, stream of consciousness, that's the word. It's going to be pure stream of consciousness. And because of that, there is going to be a fair bit of... I can't buy more skills yet. Okay. I mean, I get it, but... it's going to be pure stream of consciousness because I'm going to be real with you. I don't know how I feel about the Netflix show. So let's just start by talking about my history with the series. Around the time the special edition of 3 came out... And actually, it starts before that. Back in middle school, I had a dude I was buddies with who would talk to me about Devil May Cry a lot, and I thought it sounded cool because I was an edgy little tween, and the idea of triggering the devil inside me was amazing, and it turned my hands into guns? Sure. But I didn't actually start playing it until high school. Where's the button? What are my buttons? Why in the... Okay. I need to change this. Oh, I need to change my controls. That's not right. So, sorry. Like I said, I'm gonna get well, okay, I didn't say that. I'm going to periodically get distracted. Says they're unused. Okay. Sure, game. I'm guessing that means I was diddling around before I was supposed to, which is fine. But I didn't really start playing Devil May Cry until high school. And with that, a buddy of mine owned 3, he loved 3, but I didn't really want to play the game 3 out of context. You know, I'm the kind of guy where I like to know what I'm getting into. And because of that, I want to play the games in order. Now, there is one way, or there is one thing about playing the games like that that did make it good. It meant I could deal with 2 and not understand that 2 was bad, because I treated 1 as a very silly little puzzle game, a little puzzle adventure game, and not an action RPG. Which, you know, it's not, but I think that that's probably what people would have considered it at the time. You know, whatever. And so when I played 2, I was like, oh, it's weird that pause combos are replaced with, like, throwing your directional stick around mid-combo, but alright, sure, I can get behind it. More emphasis on gunplay. In fact, I didn't even mind that I didn't even mind the infested helicopter, because I didn't know any better. Ignorance is bliss. Alright, Griffin, you are gonna go on there. Whatever this was, you can go there. Okay. Wait, what? Oh, I thought that said fishing for a second. Oh man, this is gonna be a game. Oh boy. Ooh, mine. So, then I finally get around to playing 3, and I get it. To this day, I still kind of prefer, like, Dante's characterization in 1. I actually think the, like, really cheesy voice acting was a feature and not a bug. I think it completes his character. But I get it. It's the adventures of wacky woohoo pizza man. And I'm okay with that. And then from that point on, like, I bought the games as they came out because I am a millennial. We live and breathe by our brands. That's just how the world is. In fact, I was one of the only people I know who was a fan of Devil May Cry and actually watched the anime. The old one. So, huzzah. Pretty much the only thing I haven't done with the series is read the manga or either of the novels. Wait, no, there's 2 manga and 3 novels out now. Right. I forgot that 5 had its tie-in things. So, you know what happens with, so I'm going into the new Netflix show. I refuse to call it the anime because the anime was good, and I don't know what to think of the Netflix show. That's why I'm doing this. That was the wrong button. God, can I just... Okay, before I get any further, controversial opinion. I love Barry the Light as much as the next guy, but Crimson Cloud is the best of the different character themes. I'm just gonna say it. I do appreciate the detail that, like, Crimson Cloud is literally half the length of, what is it? Is literally half the length of, Barry the Light. I think that's a nice little attention to detail. Hell if I know, like, how planned out that was. I don't know the dev history or timeline of 5. Anyway, so the Netflix show comes out, and you know, I see that it was by the same guys behind the Castlevania show, and I'm hyped. I like the Castlevania show. I'm also a big Castlevania fan. In fact, at one point I wanted to do a series on YouTube going over the history of, or the in-universe history of the Belmont clan, and I never did that because I realized that I didn't actually have anything to talk about besides just rehashing, or besides just giving, like, summaries of each game, effectively. And honestly, I think I only really wanted to make a video on Leon and how cool he is. I love Leon. Anyway, so I see that it's by the same people behind the Netflix show. And I'm excited because I like the Netflix Castlevania show. I think it's cool. This is the part where it would be kind of cool if I saw my narrow file go through there. But I don't. So, what is it? Oh yeah. So, because of that, I didn't watch any pre-release stuff. And maybe that's on me, admittedly. Maybe I could have had a better idea of, like, what I was getting into if I watched anything pre-release, but I have a policy where if I already know I want to play or watch or read something, I'm not going to touch anything about it until I can get my hands on it. Admittedly, this is a policy I am only able to do because I'm not on social media. The only social media I use is, like, Discord, and I have a few people I talk to using Facebook Messenger. That's really it. It's a pretty comfy life. Would recommend. So... Oh shit, I actually could hit that. Nice. So... Then Castlevania Nocturne comes out, and I still have yet to finish Nocturne because I don't know what the heck that show was doing with Richter or Maria. The only character in that show I care about is the one black lady who can manipulate metal because she has awesome fight scenes. And she is the only character where I feel like they were actually trying to say something with her. And that sucks. Oh, you guys want to see a really cool trick you can do on this map? Let me just wait for the demon stall spawn in. Okay. If I remember right... Yeah, there we go. I did remember... I like it when I remember things. Alley-oop. One thing I like about playing as V is that enemies won't, like, just... Oh. There's still dudes. Okay. Whoa. Hey, get away from me. Fuck off. Oh, one thing I like about V is that you can't just infinitely wail on dudes. Their health will recover eventually. So... What was I saying? Oh yeah. So, you know, they're starting to kind of show things, but I think there was another show, Blood of Zeus, I think it was called. That one looked pretty good. I enjoyed watching it as a casual fan of Greek myth. Why am I not just doing this? There we go. So, you know, I've gone through, I'm vaguely familiar with how this company works. Oh, okay. Just completely flopped Griffin there. That's fine. So, you know, I still feel optimistic about it, but I have been taking part in a game jam all this month, so I didn't quite get around to watching anything of Devil May Cry immediately, and I had people talking to me being a bit disappointed by it. And, you know, I'm hearing what people are saying, and initially I dismissed it because I didn't quite fully understand the context. And there were a couple things where I thought, well, you know, though, the series has there are some things where, like, you know, the series has kind of always been like that, so maybe that's not an issue. Or, well, you know, I can see something interesting coming out of that plot point, so can't be that bad. Oh... how innocent I was back in those days. Oh, you can miss. That's neat. Good to know. Oh, there are new... Why did you lock on to the thing that I am not actively looking at? Like, that was way the hell behind me. You know, it's funny. People always complain about, like, people complain about Chain of Memories having that camera issue, but I think this might be the first time I've actually played a game with that issue. And I got Griffin do the wrong thing. Oh well. So then I start watching it, and the first thing I do is try and figure out where the hell in the timeline is this taking place. Because I already saw, well, Dante has his amulet, so this is before 1. You know, plus Enzo's there, so that, you know, so has to be before 1. I don't remember if I had something else I was going to say there. And then I'm watching it, and I'm like, oh, well, Rebellion has a full handle guard, so that means it's after 3. This is where the problems begin. So, within the early episodes, there were 2 things about this show that were just very, very distracting to me. The first one being, why does he not know Lady if this is after 3? And we know it's after 3 because Rebellion is in its fully awakened state. Well, I guess the second thing that I kept getting distracted by was Ruben Langdon busy? Did he have something else he needed to do that day? Because, like, Buddy, Nero, why are you voicing your uncle? What's going on there? And not only does Dante sound like Nero here, he kind of acts like Nero sometimes. Like, there are two scenes that happen back to back from each other that I felt pretty confused by. One of them, okay, that's just a hover, got it. In one of them, he's sitting there playing a little DDR machine that he has hooked up to his TV, and I think that's fairly in character for Dante. Pretty much, like, both 4 and 5 have, like, their little, what is it? Both 4 and 5 have these little dance scenes with him that I think they're fun little additions to his character. The one in 5 definitely gets memed on more. For, obvious reasons. And then, but there was one in 4 too. Granted, 4 is just Dante at maximum goofy. That's the game where he just really could not give less of a shit, and that's just amazing. Like, that was the birth of Uncle Dante as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, I'm getting distracted again. But then, I think in the same episode even, there's a theme of him doing this whole, like, air guitar routine. And that doesn't quite feel right. That's an Arrow thing. I know the exact taunt, S-rank taunt, that was animated after. So, I have a theory. That this really wanted to be an Arrow show, and for some reason, it wasn't allowed to be. And I kinda want to know what a Arrow show by that team could have looked like. Because, we're about to see my favorite parts of Devil May Cry 5, seeing how this crazy woman gets from place to place. Because I don't care what you say, Nico drives like a crazy person. So, anyway, so those were the two things I was distracted by. Not knowing why Lady and Dante didn't know each other, and then not knowing why Dante was being voiced by Nero. Don't get me wrong, I like Johnny Youngback as much as the next guy. He gets all the gigs he does for a reason. He is just using the Nero voice the entire show, and that was very distracting. And not only that, but another piece of evidence I have towards how much this really, really wants to be a Nero show is that when Dante first unlocks his Devil Trigger, when Dante first unlocks his Devil Trigger, it's Nero's theme playing in the background, Devil Trigger, and that's weird. That's just weird. I don't like that. I don't like that at all, actually. I don't think that that song should have played there. What the hell do I want to get? I think I want to get Guillotine, because I kept trying to use it. And then I want to get Blockade 2 and Flank Attack for Griffin. And if I have enough left over, I do not. Well, I don't have enough for anything left over. Okay, cool. So, as I was watching through this, those were my big distractions, really. And, like, at the end of the day, the show makes it really, really clear this is a separate continuity. And honestly, I think that's its saving grace. I think that the main reason why I'm okay with some of the directions the show takes is because it is just its own thing. Completely unrelated to anything else that's going on. And it's allowed to do that. That's fine, I guess. Eat shit, dude. Whoa! That got very close for comfort. And I know, like, it's its own thing, might come off as an excuse to some people, and yeah, I'll admit it kinda is. Well, can you shut up for a second? I'm trying to, like, post my epic review for my youtube.com. So, I dodged that? Okay. I'm not gonna complain. I don't think I should have dodged that, but I won't complain. Never didn't have it. Let's go. And because here's the thing. Here's the reason why I'm okay with it. In the main continuity, there is no way in hell you can tell me that... Alright. Fuck you. There's no way in hell you can tell me that Lady was ever a Fed. Or that she would be okay with some dude calling her by her full legal name. But in the context of the show, with it being an alternate timeline and all that, okay, sure, whatever. I can deal with that. Ow! Can you just die already, Nidhogg? Holy shit. There we go. Eat a dick. And that being said, I kinda like the concept of Darkhold. Or Darkom. I think it's Darkom. I like the concept that there is this governmental group out there who is specifically hunting and targeting, I thought the game froze, who is specifically hunting and targeting demons. I think that's neat. I don't necessarily agree with Lieutenant Arkham being a thing in that. I think that's a little weird. But I'm okay with that being a thing. In fact, there is some cool stuff going on there. And the thing about the Netflix show is that it does have a lot of interesting ideas that I would like to see be carried over to a main series game. Like that. Or a big thing. I feel like, to one degree or another, that the Netflix show was trying to marry the worlds of Devil May Cry and Darkstalkers by redefining the underworld as being Makai and having a lot of those more traditional horror-inspired designs for its original characters. Now, speaking of Lady, there she is on the couch. Hello. And one... How do I want to say it? Like, with the White Rabbit, for example, the main antagonist, the idea of taking the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland and turning him into this gentleman fencer type. Oh, Lily, do you want lap time? Oh, I guess we can have a little bit of lap time, since I'm just Why are you recoiling, dumbass? I think that the idea of taking the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland and turning him into this gentleman fencer who can apply all of these poisons to people is very hallucinogenics at that. That is very Darkstalkers to me. At least with the admittedly limited... Oh, damn it. At least with the admittedly rather limited, history that I have with Darkstalkers as a series. Why is he not doing that move? Whoa, hello. Additionally, I think that the way they redesigned the plasma enemy from Devil May Cry 1 is really cool. Having him leaning into the shapeshifter aspect. In fact, there are like a lot of weirdly deep pulls from Devil May Cry 1 in this anime. Like, if memory okay. One thing that I saw a lot of people get angry about with the Netflix show is the whole humans and demons are genetic relatives of each other thing. Well, guys, that's always been canon to Devil May Cry. That was established in the first game. Now, I don't remember exactly how the enemy file goes. Admittedly, I should have double-checked this before starting this stream. But in the enemy file for, I believe, the Nobody in Devil May Cry 1. There are these enemies called Nobodies, and they're kind of themed after a epic prank that Odysseus pulls in the Odyssey to, hi dude. Can I help you? Can I help you, sir? Sir? Can I help you? Thank you. And they're inspired by this epic prank that Odysseus pulls on, I think Polyphemus is his name, in the Odyssey. Where he's like, where he does something, ends up taking out Polyphemus's eye, and the Cyclops is like, who did this? Who goes there? Da 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 da. And Odysseus is like, oh, it's Nobody! And because Polyphemus has sheep for brains, he's like, I shall remember your name, and one day take revenge on this Nobody. Woo. Hey, stop that. Eat shit, dude. Oh. Right. So anyways, the lore for them is something about how this was a tribe of people, like humans at one point, and they ended up in hell, and the underworld mutated them into these figures, or the enemies that we fight in the game, and all that. And I can see that humans and demons share DNA thing as being an expansion on that enemy file, and I think that is cool. I like that plot point. I think it's neat. Yeah, it's a cargo tanker griffin. They're known to be big. This one is actually kind of small, if you ask me. But so, you know, I saw a lot of people get upset about that, and, you know, that's whatever. If anything, I appreciate the deep pull. And Plasma, like, being up there with the other bosses when that was, like, a 1 or 2 off enemy originally, I see that kind of the same way. That's a cool, deep pull. I really appreciate the Netflix show for taking all of these, like, minor things from different points in the series, and how in the fuck do I get that? Am I ignoring someone? Is there, like, enemies around here? I hear weird music play. I thought that was a generator for a second. I played enough Dead by Daylight to have instinct. Oh, hello. There are enemies here. Oh, fancy that. Hello. Commit, die. I said commit, die, damn it. I think they died a little too fast. Oh, this is how I get over here. Ooh, hey, there we go. So, another... In fact, I think the choice of which bosses to get new versions of was also interesting. I don't like Agni and Rudra. Them There's this thing that I notice when it comes to a lot of modern video game, show adaptations of video games, where they'll get a lot of the small details right. There'll be these small things they absolutely get right. But then there'll be big stuff that's just, what did they mean by this? How did they get to that point? I think the most infamous example is the Halo show. The first 10 minutes of the Halo TV show, peak Halo. That is how I would imagine a Halo TV show to be back in, like, the mid-2000s. And then Master Chief takes off his helmet, looks like the most generic motherfucker ever, and I stopped giving a shit right then and there. What's the point of having him not wear his helmet all the time if you're going to make him, like, super generic? Okay, I never did figure out how to get there. Whoops. Alright. How the fuck do I get over to that? Game, what are you doing to me? Oh, well, no fights means I'm getting less distracted, probably. But Devil May Cry is another great example of that. Like, for Agni and Rudra, there's this great single moment where they put the two swords together as like a single double-ended weapon and actually do like a crazy wind fire attack like the original boss fight would do all the time. But they have heads. And they talk out those heads instead of the swords. And you know what? I'm not necessarily bugged by, like, the thick British accents either. My thing... Okay, I'm gonna just do that, because... Holding down that button when I don't... Wait, what the fuck? Wait, how do I get over there? What? But it's just... They talk out the swords. You know, I kind of get it. In the sense that, I kind of get why you would want them to have facial expressions. I do. I really do. The problem is that the core premise of Agni and Rudra is that the devil arm is the devil in a much more literal way than any other devil arm. You know, all the other ones, they turn into a weapon. You beat up Cerberus, you get a 3-pronged nunchuck. You beat up Neven, and you get a sick-ass guitar scythe. But with Agni and Rudra, there isn't a middleman. You beat them up, and you pick them up. So why do they have heads? And because I didn't register that this was a separate continuity, basically the entire time they were on screen, I just kept asking, oh, is this how they lost their heads? Why, they have to talk through their swords now? Is that what happened? And then one of them died before the other one, and I was just confused. Okay. Now I'm starting to think that I'm just being impatient, and I literally haven't gotten to the part where I can grab that yet. That's the only answer I can think of. So I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. And then Dante activates his devil trigger, and I'm confused. And I was like, well, and at first I justified it. I was like, well, you know, I guess he can, like, awaken it, but hasn't really embraced that side of him yet. He's still, like, kinda in denial of the whole thing. I gave that show the benefit of the doubt for the entirety of the first half because I was confused by it. Now, I will say, seeing Dante go full devil trigger the first time, did make something click in my head. Where I realize, ow, get fuck off. What do you mean enjoy the taste of despair? You're not Sephiroth, dude. Can I kill you yet? I can just stab you in the ass. That works. So, I will say though, the first time he went full devil trigger, I did realize one really cool thing that the show is doing. Can I not manually do whatever? I realized that the humans were all in 2D and the demons were all in 3D. And I thought that was a cool attention to detail. Especially since this ended up being a plot-relevant detail. So this is the part of the stream, slash video, slash whatever, where I am going to freely discuss spoilers because I don't care. So if you're so like whenever you get around to watching this, because there are a few people who I know were interested in like seeing my takes on the Netflix show because of my history with the series. If you care about spoilers, stop here, because this is the part where I'm gonna start fuck me. Not that. Because this is the point of the show where I'm going to start freely discussing spoilers because I don't really care. Now, the White Rabbit turns out to be a human in a rabbit mask who has a weird device on his chest that infuses demon blood into him. Again, very Darkstalkers coded. I think if they had just doubled down on this being like a way to sneak in a Darkstalkers show, it would have been amazing. However, unfortunately, Darkstalkers is dead. It had a stake driven through its heart. RIP. That doesn't, however, stop me and a few people I know from talking about potential Darkstalkers 4 characters, but that's a video for another day. Where am I going? Where am I going? Okay. So I went this way. Yeah? Yeah. Okay. Now... Oh. Oh, okay. So... And I thought that was cool. What I don't appreciate about him is that he kind of acts as the crux of... my arm's going numb. I'm leaning on it weird. is he kind of acts as the crux to, he kind of acts as the crux for a plot stuff that I don't really care for. And it's not even that I'm actively against it like most people, so much as I'm just bored. No, really, where the fuck am I going? I think I literally said at one point while watching the show, I see what you're trying to do, and I don't think you have enough there to do anything with it. Because, on one hand, the idea that there are some demons who would rather live peacefully among humans than deal with Mundus is cool. I like that. In fact, the original anime did play with something along similar lines, with how there were a handful of demons in there who legitimately just wanted to live their own life and weren't all that keen to fuck with humans. However, okay, that doesn't do anything. However, at the same time, the idea that they want to paint Darkcom as the primary antagonist while having the White Rabbit be just as bad about it is really, really dumb. And I appreciate that they are self-aware enough to have, I think it was Lady, make a remark about that, but that doesn't make it less dumb. And that's kind of the biggest problem that the show makes, is that it thinks it's more clever than it really is. And there's not really too much you can do to fix that, because at that point you're dealing with a fundamental issue with the writing where it kind of wants to be two things at once, and it's not really committing itself to either. Because you could have this really cool plot line about how, you could have this really cool plot line about people, about how there's a handful of demons who genuinely just want to be left alone, want a place where they can hide out for a while, and all that jazz. Or you can have a plot line about how humans are so consumed by rage and fear that they will lash out at anything they don't understand. But in trying to do both, you ended up doing neither. Instead, you just made a story about how everyone's a hypocrite except for Dante, and he's only not a hypocrite because that requires more energy than he's willing to give to shit he isn't really involved in and never really was given any choice to take part in. So, sorry, but that doesn't really work, my guy. Alright, well, I don't know what exactly happened there, but we did it. So, and like, the big issue is mostly in how... Which encounter was this? Oh, we get to see another case of Nico being an insane driver. Let's go. And I think it kind of leads to the situation where, and by trying to have a unified antagonist with the government, you end up with everyone being equally bad. Even Lady ends up looking like just kind of a bitch. And you can even argue Dante is one of the bad guys, just due to sheer apathy. Mm-hmm. And like, there's morally gray and then there's morally nihilistic, you know? Which sucks, because like, I think you could have told an interesting story there. It would have been retreading on the Order of the Sword, but you could have. Especially since... Wait, what? What is that phone number? 6 Mike? Okay, that's... I wonder if that's a real phone number, actually. I don't think it is, but God, it would be funny. No, I think I'm fine on that front. No, I need a... Oh. That's why I wasn't fucking doing it. Well, there we go. And I want that movement thing. Nice. Those I don't care about, really. Do I... Yeah, I think I'm just gonna grab that for now. So... What is it? And... Because, like, I think there's an interesting story you could have told about Darkholm and how they think they're doing the right thing, but they're kind of just making the problem worse, and how flexible their morals are, and all that jazz. Hell, I would actually love a game based around them. It would probably just be Captain Commando within the Devil May Cry universe, because those are Captain Commando uniforms, and I cannot be how the fuck do you fight this guy again? I don't remember. Ooh, out of the fucking way, dude. Oh, damn it! Yeah. Griffin, do you ever shut up? But I feel like, though, no, get the hell away from me. I don't like this. I don't like being time slowed. Thank you very much. Uh... Oh, he's dead. Nightmare it is. So, you guys ever think about how interesting it is that, like, Nightmare went from being, like, this weird thing to, like, a giant gun, and now it's, like, a golem? I know the whole thing for it is that it's, like, living metal and stuff. I just think about that sometimes. Oh, I thought it was gonna be cool. Why did I stop hitting him? Hey, get the fuck away from me, dude. I want your horse. You will give me your— oh god! How are you not dead yet, dude? There we go. I am taking your horse. Okay. Where was I? So another thing. I really like Enzo. I really like Enzo. I think the dynamic between Dante and Enzo is amazing. Dante just kind of always being aware of the particular brand of, like, squirrely and sleazy Enzo is and using it to his advantage is great. Enzo being self-aware enough to, like, never really blame Dante for it is great. I think I really like those two together. So with what is it? Oh yeah. And Enzo kind of being ping-ponged around by the government's funny. I do wish we got to see a little bit more of Enzo in his environment, so to speak. I feel like there's a missed opportunity. Oh, hello. I feel like there's a missed opportunity with him, by not, like, showing off more of what he's like, just out in the field doing his thing, you know? But I appreciate what we got of him. It's a shame that he, like, dies right at the end. That sucks. Let me see. We will go Sweet Surrender. Tomboy Buster Arm. Cool. So and for what it's worth, I think I kind of like this version of Lady. I wish that she was a little bit more of a psychopath. Like, weird as that is to say, I do wish she was a little bit more of a psychopath. but I enjoy her. Her being a little more down to earth makes sense for the story they were trying to tell. You know, let me rephrase that. I like Lady in the context they give her. However, I don't think that she's in character very much. It feels like they tried to emulate the way she is in 3 and didn't quite understand what kind of person she is. And that makes sense to me because honestly, I don't like how they changed her backstory. I think Arkham just becoming a weird kind of vampire and then immediately dying is super lame. Within the context of a TV show exploring the earliest known point in the timeline, I think Arkham had a ton of potential. Show the process of... Whoa! Show the process of him becoming the big bad demon hunter, please. I would like that, thank you. Oh. And... Oh, alright. Oh, I forgot he did that. Oh, okay. Fair enough. Ow. Ow. I forgot how to fight Gilgamesh. Oh, hello. Hell yeah. Alright, I'm a little too focused, I think. Oh, bye! I'm trying to think if there's anything... Oh, yeah. So, I will say, my first sign that there's something up that I should have caught, and I alluded to the fact that I should have caught at the beginning of the stream, is that there is something a little fucky going on here. See, Lucia shows up in, like, the first episode. And I don't know how I feel about that, honestly. See, half the reason why I don't know how I feel about it, why aren't you on Island du Mal at this point? At this point in the timeline, you should still be on Isle du Mal, hanging out with, oh, hello. Forgot I had Buster Arm equipped. Oh, time to fuck off. Oh, Buster Arm feels so good. Oh, how did that not hit me? Oh yeah. So she should be on Isle du Mal here, and, you know, I might be the one person on the planet who watched the Devil May Cry show and was like, that's weird. Why is Lucia here? She shouldn't be here yet. But you know what? I'm okay with that because I really like her. In fact, I've had this personal belief for quite a while, and I know that it's wrong, but it just makes a little too much sense to me that Devil May Cry 2 was made with Lucia in mind, not Dante. Where's the button where I can just... Is that... I don't want this anymore. Okay, so I've had this thought in my mind that Devil May Cry 2 must have been made with Lucia in mind instead of Dante. And I know that's wrong. I know that it was intended to be a Devil May Cry game. But Lucia's disc has all of the plot, has more interesting gameplay, underwater section, sadly, and it also is like where we actually get to see Isle du Mal for what it is. We get the environmental variety in that disc more. So her not being there bugged me. And then when the final episode happened and that big invasion happened, which is still weird. I don't want to play as V. I don't want to play as V. Which is still weird. Then I noticed something, and I was like, wait a second, I know that Ouroboros? Is this a Devil May Cry 2 focus? Are they setting it up for Season 2 to be focused on Devil May Cry 2? And like, I love that, but are you sure? Is that where you want to go with this? Because, I don't recommend that. I don't recommend that. You sure can. You sure could. And you know what? That would be okay. But I don't recommend it. I don't recommend it at all. But ragtime. Alright. It's gonna be very silly. And that's kind of the reason why I'm so confused by this show, because, like, it doesn't have high highs or low lows. Well, you know what? That's a lie. There was one really high high. That fight scene of Dante going up against all of those mercs was really cool. I think that was the scene where Dante was the least narrow. I don't know if that's the scene where he's the most Dante, but I think that's the scene where he's the least narrow. And, you know, recreating that, like, pool trick shot from the beginning of 3, that was a nice touch. I like that. I like referential things. I think it's a good sign that someone might know what they're talking about. But I don't know if this show knows what it's talking about. And that's the problem. Now, ultimately, in my Netflix settings, I have it set to dislike, because I was annoyed at the final episode. Basically, for sabotaging itself. And you know what? That's kind of what it was. It was self-sabotage. And the reason why I say it was self-sabotage is because by having... I want to phrase it. Oop, I didn't do that. So it does, the final episode does 3 things that I think are self-sabotage. Firstly, having the fuse Sparta, and actually having that do what it says it would do, despite the fact that that really isn't how the sword works. And the thing is, we know that that's not how the sword works. See, what Sparta didn't do was add a barrier. What he did was reinforce the barrier, and we know that the Devil Sword Sparta doesn't control the barrier because Virgil... Well, first of all, Temenigru sprouted out of the ground before it was refused, so that says something. But also, the Order of the Sword had Sparta literally in their hand. And they still needed Yamato. They still, like, went really far out of their way to get Yamato. And admittedly, fuck if I know why they had the Devil Sword Sparta. I don't fucking know. Why did Trish give it to them? Fuck if I know. 4 is a weird game that was never finished. And my hope is one day we will get information on what it was supposed to be, because we didn't get that game. Oh, hello, cutscene. So here's what I'm gonna do. Huh? Oh, I forgot that's how this worked. Oh, baby, let's go! Anyway, let's go recollect a couple things. Actually, so there's still enemies here. See, that was the guitar thing I talked about earlier. That's an arrow taunt. Why does Dante use an arrow taunt? That is absolutely an arrow taunt. The second thing that it does to annoy me is that it's really, really inconsistent on whether or not where Lady's loyalties lie. Because throughout the entire... Actually, this isn't a final episode thing. This is a show thing. Throughout the entire show, it doesn't seem to be able to decide if Lady sides with humanity or society. And the show does a lot to try and go, no, those are two very different things. You know, you can't be out. You can't be loyal to one and the other. That's not how it works. Okay, I need to get out of this corner. Why are there so many of these fuckers? Get out of my face. Okay. Ugh. But yeah, the show tries to do this whole thing about how you can't side both with humanity and society because society is inherently inhuman. And that's why I say I see what you're trying to do, and I don't think that you're doing enough to justify that plotline. Because you're trying to tell that story when the male and female leads are both people who already confirm they don't side with humans. Or they don't side with people. Damn it. Why am I targeting that and not the other thing? There we go. Alright. Alright, because Dante is someone where he is two things, therefore he is neither thing. And that's kind of what they're trying to go for here. You're not both, you're something in between. And Like, and also, within the main series, this is a character who notoriously just couldn't give less of a shit about anything as long as his brother or his dad aren't involved. Like, a huge part of the original anime is how difficult it is for Dante to genuinely get invested in stuff. And at first, the Netflix show looks like it's going to follow that route. There's this whole scene where it's showing his government file. It actually says some interesting stuff if you pause on every slide. But it says that the reason why he keeps not finishing his jobs is because he got bored. That's it, he got bored. And that's perfect for him. That's in character, it's great. Don't follow up on that at all. It is a quick gag, and that's it. And I hit that. Ooh. Ow. Well, fortunately, Rawhide is really OP. Ow. Hey, maybe I should actually just not stand in the way of stuff like that. Oh, hey. Oh, that stuff. No, I'm not gonna. Nah. I'll redo it on Virgil's, or V's side. I mean, I guess it is Virgil. Speaking of Virgil, wow, is he nothing? I kinda like... Okay, here's my controversial take. I kinda like the remix for Bury the Light that they use with him. I think within the context of when he shows up, it's a good remix. Wow, is Virgil such a nothing character. I get it, they're setting up for later. They're just showing Nello Angelo for the sake of, you know, surprising the viewer. We all knew Virgil was going to show up. We all knew he was going to show up. That was a foregone conclusion. But they felt the need to try and pull that anyway? Really? Okay. I'm getting tired. My motor skills are starting to wear off. And you know what? I think I've decided that the show is just okay, and it is disappointing because of that. Because they don't do anything interesting. That's a lie. They do interesting things and don't follow up with it. Like, Plasma, he's not a character. He's a living plot device. Echidna just shows up so that Plasma gets jobbed and then she becomes a jobber. I don't know what the fuck they were doing with Echidna. And this wanted to be an Arrow show. I think, okay, final verdict, if this was an Arrow show, I would have loved it. Still would have been weird about the government stuff. Still would have been weird about Lady. But if this was an Arrow show, I would have loved it. Because it is the perfect tone for a Arrow show. Just have Kyrie in the background doing something weird. I don't fucking know. But because it's a Dante show, it feels like a lot of empty promises. Now, I'm still gonna watch season 2. I'm gonna do it. Because I'm curious what they do with Arius. I'm curious if they're going to, like, bring in Argosax? Because there's some really neat lore in Devil May Cry 2 that hasn't been expanded on. But wow, it's okay. And I think this is the wrong franchise where you can get away with something being just okay. Now, because of this anime, I don't know if I'm actually gonna doing this or not, but because of this anime, it wasn't an anime, because of the Netflix show, because of the Netflix show, I kinda want to, I'm gonna be real, I'm kinda tempted to, like, make a video talking about, like, the 3 times Dante was really out of character, like, between this Devil May Cry 2 and the reboot, if the reboot even counts, and just compare and contrast those different versions of him. I think that would be cool. Anywho, I'm going the fuck to sleep.